Check, check. Mic check, 1, 2. Mic check, 1, 2. Alright, so this video I want to talk about why so many of us become stagnant on our spiritual path, on our spiritual journey. How come we get stuck on a level for so long in our spiritual work? I feel like it's like this. The more a person wants to evolve spiritually, means the more a person has to allow the previous programming to break down. Alright, so this is what I mean. Just give me a minute to cook so I can bring it home, and I want to make my point crystal clear. What I'm trying to say is this. So when we talking about spirituality and humanity, or let's say spirituality and society, we're talking about polarity. We're talking about opposites. We're talking about different ends of the spectrum. So, the further you get pulled one direction means the further you have to be pulled away from the other direction, right? That's just universal law. That's the law of nature. The higher you go in the air means the further you go away from the ground, and vice versa, right? That's law, and that's what we're dealing with in everything here in life. That's what is under this law, right? So the more that a person decides to tap into the spirituality means the more that they have to continue to get rid of the social norms, the things that society deems to be acceptable, the things that society say you're supposed to do, or the way you're supposed to be, right? The more that you start to explore and tap into the more you start doing the inner work, right? The more that you'll have to accept that a lot of the outer illusions will start to break down, right? And I'm not saying what's good and what's bad. I'm just saying the further you want to go down the rabbit hole, right? You're going to constantly have self-realizations that certain beliefs that you held on for a long time, that these beliefs are just that. There was just only beliefs. You're going to find out a lot of this shit is not true. It's not a fact, right? That shit was just a fact because I accepted it as a fact. I agreed to it. You know what I'm saying? We've been programmed with a script from the time we were small children. So let's say this. When most people, when we start to get involved into spirituality, most of the things that we start to get involved with in the beginning are like working with crystals, or a lot of people get into reading tarot cards, right? Things of that nature. Meditation, right? Things like that. So it works like this. So for you to have got into reading tarot cards, right? You was drawn to this, right? Whatever it is that draw you to this, you had to do away with that previous programming that was keeping you away from that, right? You had to get over some sort of hurdle, right? You had to break through some brick wall that was placed there and that was keeping you away from being interested and from being into practicing with those tarot cards, right? Cool. So now you happy. You know what I'm saying? Like, you feel like you want some deeper shit now than the average person, and you are. So you get into that. And here where we get hung up at. Now that you into these tarot cards, these cards, now that you feel like you done stepped foot on your spiritual path, right? Now, are you willing to go wherever this path leads you to? This is where we get hung up at. Because we're not willing to go, right? We break through one door only to find that it's another door directly behind that. Only to find that it's another door directly behind that. Directly behind that, right? The further down this rabbit hole that you go, it's going to constantly force you to challenge your beliefs, to challenge what you think you know about reality. is going to constantly challenge you. You're going to have to constantly confront who you think you are, right? It really comes down to fear. You have to constantly keep conquering fear if you want to evolve spiritually. The more that you evolve spiritually means the more that you are conquering your fears that you've been holding on to for a lifetime. And I don't think it ever stops. I think it's always constantly going to be, you're constantly going to be confronted with fear on this journey. Constantly. So you break through that first door, right? You step foot on the path. Now you getting into the work, right? You get into your spiritual work. This is what you're doing. You loving it. You feeling like you got a purpose. You tapping into your purpose and all of that, right? Now it starts to lead you somewhere else. And the problem is that you're comfortable where you're at now, right? Because now you done conquered the fear and you done made it to a place that you wasn't even willing to go to before. But you broke through and you conquered that fear. So now you're in a place and now you become familiar with this place. You're cool being right here. You're comfortable because now you're familiar with being in this space now. You've been here for a little bit now, right? You're familiar with this space. I'm cool with this because now this is what I know, right? And it's always the fear of the unknown. And whatever is behind this next door, I don't know what the fuck is behind this door. I don't know where it's going to take me. What it is, we break down 2 or 3 doors, right? And then we get stuck. You know what I'm saying? Like we become frozen, right? Why a lot of people who are into astrology, because a lot of people are into astrology, and I'm telling you, astrology is the root, whatever spiritual work you in, like that shit is linked and it's going to take you directly to astrology. Like astrology is the cosmos is the root to all of this shit as far as the work that we're doing on the spiritual level. I mean, the work that we're doing on the physical level, as far as tapping into the spiritual, like all of that shit runs through the cosmos. And a lot of people get into astrology and check it out. They read all the books. They learn everything. They know everything about the rising signs. They know everything about ascending and descending and the planets and the current shifts, bro. And they know everything about all the signs and all of the retrogrades and all of the new moons and eclipses. And bro, they can tell you everything there is about your birth chart and everything there is from an intellectual standpoint when it comes to astrology, right? But astrology is a super deep ass rabbit hole. And that's why most people, they stay stuck right there. They can tell you all of that shit and all of that shit, right? But if you start diving into astrology and really going down that rabbit hole, that's just going to very quickly take you off into some wild shit, right? It's quickly going to take you off into the dark, right? It's going to take you off into studying some dark matter quick. Like it's going to take you everywhere. And motherfuckers ain't willing to go everywhere. Motherfuckers ain't really willing to go beyond, really just beyond that level that they comfortable going with really is going to be the intellectual level, right? Because that astrology is definitely is going to lead to, like, how if you really into astrology, then how can you not be into knowing and learning about and studying about the gods, about the angels, about the demons, about the devil, about tarot cards, about yourself, right? About the tree of life, about the serpent in the garden, about Adam and Eve, about Baphomet. If you're into astrology, because everything that I just named, all of that shit is astrology. All of that shit that I just named, once you start to interpreting all the symbols and the metaphors of the mythologies and shit, all of that shit is astrology, bro. It's astrology that's told in different forms. That's it, right? If you're into tarot card readings, if that's what you do, if you really into that shit, and if you're really going down that rabbit hole, how can you not be in to learning about these spirits and to be learning about the occult and to be learning about the tree of life and to be learning about Kundalini energy and to be learning about these different dimensions, right? And it's just, I'm saying all of that to say, if you're not willing to go where it leads you to, then we not doing shit, right? And I know it's baby steps because I take baby steps, believe me, and I get stuck as well, right? Which is good to take baby steps. You're supposed to crawl before you walk. You're not supposed to just go try to swallow a whole enchilada because you about to choke and you about to croak. I totally understand this. The thing is, we get comfortable and really we get to faking it, right? Because it's easy to seem that like you on some deep shit when you talking to a person that don't know shit, right? Or even when you're talking to a person who studies and they can relate and they study all the information and y'all can have a conversation and you can debate back and forth about it, right? When you really start to go further and further down that rabbit hole, you will start to lose the desire to debate and argue and go back and forth about information, because you're constantly experiencing something that is contradicting what you think you know, right? So it's almost like, bro, arguing with you, like, what's the point? Because I'm constantly contradicting my damn self. You know what I'm saying? Because what I believe, I go have an experience, or I have some kind of realization that totally contradicts what I thought I knew. So we have trouble with becoming receptive to what the Spirit is trying to enlighten us to, right? And we get stuck at a certain level, bro. And when we get stuck on that level, if we are just becoming, if we stuck on a certain level, all right, so whatever kind of physical work that we're doing, right? So you're doing spiritual work, right? But we're physically doing things, right? So we're still doing physical work. And whenever we just become totally obsessed and stuck on the physical side of what we're doing, right? When we're just stuck on the social aspect of this spiritual work that we're doing, then the spirit kind of checks out, right? Kind of loosens up the grip. It kind of says, okay, I'm not going to keep pushing. I'm not going to push you. When you're ready to get to it, I'm here. Let me know. Let's get it. But if you want to stay there, I'm totally fine with it. I ain't going to force you to do shit, right? This is your life. You either want it or you don't, right? You want it or you don't. I find this out to be, check it out. So, for years, if you're familiar with this channel, and you probably heard me talk about astral travel, right? I've been an astral traveler, you know what I'm saying, for some years now. Now, when I tell you about a rabbit hole, when I tell you about having to conquer fear, right? When I tell you about getting stuck, I'm saying this shit from experience. I'm saying this shit from doing it, right? From where I'm at. So, when you really astral traveling, when you're really continuing to go explore that rabbit hole and opening up to wherever it takes you. It's going to take you to some wild shit real quick. But it's going to be based on your level of receptibility or receptivity, right? The mind is really only going to give you what you're ready for. Or another way of saying it is like the mind is going to give you what you want. All right? When I first started breaking through to the other side some years ago, right? I started with lucid dreaming, right? I started by lucid dreaming. That lasted for a while, right? And I thought that was the deepest shit of the world, the things that I was experiencing, all that shit, right? Because it was super deep as far as from where I came from, you know what I'm saying? Because I was a very shallow person. Like, I definitely wasn't open to even thinking about anything like that back in the day, right? So at first I'm lucid dreaming, I'm like shit like that, and that's like hella deep. But I was just stuck there, right? Because I was reluctant to ask what's next. I was reluctant. I thought I've made it. See, it just came full circle right there, right? We get to the point, we reach this point where we think we made it, right? We think we got it now. We think, you know what I'm saying? We think we made it. We here. I did it, right? I did it. Only to find out that that's just the beginning. You know what I'm saying? Like, great. That's an accomplishment. You took a step. You took a leap. You took a leap that the average person ain't dare willing to take. Facts, right? But what I found, it wasn't until I reached a point to where I became bored with those experiences that I was experiencing, you know what I'm saying? When I started lucid dreaming and shit. It was the funnest shit in the world. It was the most amazing shit in the world for a long time. But I finally reached a point to where I felt stuck. I felt stagnant. Like, I could feel it. It was like a brick wall where it's like, okay, so this is all it is? You know what I'm saying? Like, this can't be all that it is. Like, right? Once I became open and willing to find out what was next, boom. Whole new fucking reality where I'm like, again, I had to experience the fear. I had to go through the process of being willing to face the fear of going to the next level. Where I was like, all right, fuck it. You know what I'm saying? I'm here now. I don't know what's about to happen, but fuck it. Show me what you got. Show me. Give it to me, right? And then you walk through that next door and it opens up. Now it's a whole nother reality that you didn't know existed, right? And now it's a little deeper. Things get a little bit more intense. You start getting pulled further and further away from what's normal, from what used to be that everyday life that you used to live, right? Those old everyday thoughts, all of that shit starts to keep slowly changing. And let's be real, you still human, you still got a life, you still fighting to hold on to that shit. You know what I'm saying? God, please don't take these beautiful things that I got. That's what that shit means. It's a tug of war. You know what I'm saying? You think you want this, but you find out that you're having to give up a lot of this, right? So it's kind of like, I'm cool with just being right here, because when I'm right here, I feel like I got enough of this and I got enough of this. So I'm cool with being right here. And that's how we get stuck and we stay there. Bro, I've been stuck on, you know what I'm saying? I be taking baby steps, but I notice I spend a lot of time stuck at one place, in one space, you know what I'm saying? Just because of everything that I said. Of opening up that next door. And what is behind this door? You know what I'm saying? Because I know for absolute fact that whatever it is, whatever I'm about to realize, whatever I'm about to be introduced to, it's going to change my life. It's going to shift my perspective on what I believe reality to be. It's going to shatter a part of my ego. So that's the fight, right? I think most people don't know that though. Most people genuinely feel that you made it. You know what I'm saying? Where you at on your path. You think that this is it and this is what it's about. But nah, you just stepped on the path. Now take another step. Now take another step. Take another step. What you find that each step, you start to step further away from who you were. Right? And who wants to lose yourself when you thought you knew yourself? And the further that you get away from it, the lonelier, the more lonely the journey becomes. Right? Because in the beginning, when you first got into tarot cards, a lot of people into tarot cards. You got a lot of people you can relate to. You got a lot of people to have conversation with. You get on Facebook, you got whole groups unlimited groups of people that you can talk to and have conversation with about this. And there's whole tons of people that you can give readings to. You can do that all day and night. Yeah, right? You get comfortable with that. But the more you go down that rabbit hole and the more that you're willing to go wherever those cards are taking you, because when you tap into the spirit don't like to sit still. It's spirit. You talk about travel, moves. The spirit is going to lead you somewhere where your spirit can grow. All right? That's one way. That's how you know if you're being led by your spirit or by the ego. The spirit is going to push you to evolve spiritually. The spirit wants to go where the spirit can grow. The ego wants to go where it's comfortable, where it feels secure. The ego wants to deal with what it's familiar with, right? So you see, this is the whole mind fuck right there. Like, that's the whole paradox. That's where we stuck. That's the trap. Is one better than the other? I don't know, because the more that I experience things, bro, the more that I become enlightened to things, right? But at the same time, the more that I'm actually, that old saying when they say the grass ain't greener on the other side, I'm starting to think, like, you know what I'm saying? It might be some truth to that. And in a lot of these studies, a lot of shit, I know that the belief, it's a common belief. You know what I'm saying? Like, that this human shit ain't shit, as far as like in the occult circles and shit. They're like, this physical shit ain't shit. And the spirit world and our spirit, our spirituality, right? And our soul. And this is what's happening. This is the popping shit. We gotta leave this shit and go back to the real us and all that. And that might very well be true. I'm not opposed to believing that. But I'm also saying it can also very much be that when a person does reach whatever the destination is that a person feels is the big aha, is the big voila, is the big wow, I'm finally here, right? It could well be that whenever a person gets there, a person could very well be like, this grass is no greener than the grass I just left from. It's different, right? But maybe it's no greener. I don't know. These are just my thoughts and my rambling for the moment. So I'm gonna go ahead and check out right now, and we gonna leave it at that.